Hey, thank you very much, Charles. It's 9:05 now on this Wednesday morning. It is the 20th day of December, 2023. If you're marking the calendar, we are glad you're up with us here on News Radio WRVA. I mean, I couldn't disagree at all with what Governor Wilder had to say earlier. And when I asked him about this reconciliation monument, which I've been talking about, I mean, I hope I'm not driving you crazy, but I think this is important that we not destroy artwork just as a principle. Even if I don't like it, John Reid personally may be offended by the artwork, and I may say I'm not paying my tax money for it, but I don't think we should do book burnings and things like. I mean, this is the stuff that liberals used to agree with. We don't destroy artwork, even if we don't like it, even if we don't like the subject of the art, we find it offensive or it's a throwback to a time that we don't like. We don't, once we get through the war and everything returns, in theory, to civilization, we don't do this. We don't act like the Taliban. But there's an American Taliban that's on the march. Now, Governor Wilder said he was more focused on the future. I get it. I get it. We can't be living in the past. And that's one reason I'm so shocked that Democrats across the country and in the Congress and in the White House, instead of focusing on the multitude of problems that have presented themselves right now, the world is on fire. I don't know if you're paying attention. We may be on the verge of World War III. And these horrible people in Congress with a D behind their name are obsessed with going back and refighting the Civil War with the 2023 perspective. Like, you're a bad guy. We have decided in 2023 that you don't even deserve to be recognized. They dug up the bones of A.P. Hill here in Richmond because they needed to get rid of the traffic circle was too dangerous, supposedly. We all know what that was about. That was about dishonoring and desecrating a Confederate general, and that was the point. It's kind of a sick, twisted revenge against people who are dead. I mean, what kind of mental illness is that? But those are the people who are in charge now. And so we look at this reconciliation monument. I mean, the twisted, sick irony of tearing down a monument to reconciling the North and the South and healing the wounds of the country. I mean, is that lost on everybody in D.C.? So if you've been with us this morning, you know that the judge who was assigned this case or who took this case to adjudicate whether the reconciliation monument should stay or go based on the claim that, the government hadn't properly pursued this and that the graves might be damaged. He lifted his temporary restraining order yesterday and had I get the impression some harsh words for everybody. Lunell Siegel is the leader of Defend Arlington, defendarlington.org, that's really been leading to try to protect this artistic treasure in a cemetery where we were told everything would be safe. Lunell is back with us this morning. You were in the courts for hours yesterday, Lunell. I appreciate you joining us. First of all, what's the status update? Is the statue still standing or has it been taken down overnight? And good morning.
We're waiting for a situation report. We do know that there were some large, bright lights that will make two racks of lights. So we expect that when the judge issued the order, we're waiting for a report. I'll be able to tell you later. But, you're right. I was in the courtroom, and this is a monumental example of an epic fail of historic preservation infrastructure that we taxpayers pay for and the justice system. I was privileged to be a witness, to get a glimpse into the inner sanctum of the justice system in what many called a political case. And it was not a pretty sight, John. It's a really bad omen for our country.
Well, what happened?
We're really lucky that the judge didn't haul off the lawyers to the gulag.
Huh.
Imagine it was like a football game, okay? And before the game, the referee is yee-hawing, smoking cigars in one team's locker room. And then you get to the game, and the ref's calling offsides on every single play, even the ones that aren't offsides, and ignoring that there's 30 players on the other side's team on the field at one time.
You think it was that unfair? Because the national press was presenting this as this is a Trump judge, so they were acting like maybe it was rigged for you.
The judge put himself at the center of the case and made it about the meaning of the monument and not about the rule of law. Do you know, John? He kept the lawyers waiting over an hour in the courtroom while he arranged a private tour out to the cemetery, visiting with the defendants in the case.
With the government people.
Yes, ushered out with private, they call it ex parte, without our lawyers. So he was out there for who knows how long, at least an hour, visiting with the other side. This is like the judge going out to a crime scene with a police escort and the district attorney to look at a murder scene without the defendant's attorney even knowing about it.
And you all were not invited to offer, who knows what the conversation was. But
fair justice, you probably like Castro or Stalin.
So I heard that he addressed you directly and asked you how you felt about the monument. Now, I don't know the context, but...
No, not me. He called me out for... he wanted to see if there was grave desecration.
Okay.
See, here's the thing. Lady Justice has a blindfold on for a reason. It's like the ref. Hey ref, look up in the stands when we call this play. When I took pictures on Sunday of them running a heavy equipment over the top of Ezekiel's grave, when he got there on Tuesday morning, guess what? The equipment wasn't on the grave. Everything was in order. Well, of course, they knew he was coming. So he was selectively looking at the facts to choose a direction that he wanted to take the case in. He was picking and choosing and assessing his own facts. Lady Justice has a blindfold on for a reason. His job was to weigh the facts presented to him, not go investigate the case. And honestly, John, in my opinion, in those few hours, Judge was unduly influenced by the defendant and possibly seduced by a woke narrative. He came back in the courtroom talking about basically putting the meaning of the memorial at the center of the case. This is a history book. It's a story book. It's a picture book. This memorial is a picture book. The art is a picture book. And, he got one opinion on the memorial, but there was no chance for anyone else to even discuss it except for when he asked our lawyer what she thought the monument was.
Oh, and that was where that question was asked.
She said, I don't care what it says. This is about the rule of law. And again, it's like our lawyers did some foot fouls, but the other side, was egregious.
Well, let me back up here. Let me back up here for a second, Lunell. Tell me what the premise was of the case, just for clarity. You
Sure.
The law said that there was a naming commission that could go in and evaluate which things needed to be removed from military installations, and they included this memorial on the list. I think that's an overreach. I think you could make the argument that that's an overreach, and I'm furious that the Republicans in the Congress allowed this to even happen, because that's ceding authority to more bureaucrats. But that's a bigger conversation. But your challenge in court yesterday was what?
Was simply, yesterday there was no issue at stake, supposedly, other than to maintain the TRO. The basis of the TRO
and that's temporary restraining order.
Restraining order. Okay. That the Army was violating federal law, the Environmental Protection Act, and that they were had not followed the process, and that they had been desecrating graves in the process, which is the picture I provided the court.
So there are two elements. One, they didn't correctly follow the law with the environmental impact assessment.
Right.
That they fast forwarded through some of the obligations they had. Yep. And then the second was grave desecration, which is illegal. Yep. And did you get an actual statement from the judge on both of those points?
his statement was, I didn't see any there when I was there. And so our attorney kept trying to show him pictures. He refused to see them. I don't know if he ever looked at them or not. He let the clerk take them. But he basically, he got to see a staged set when he showed up out there without any opportunity to show him the other side.
And then on the environmental impact element, because we often hear of trains or power plants or even, apartment developments delayed for extended periods of time because someone claims that a redheaded snail, hasn't been appropriately adjudicated with the environmental impact statement. What happened there? Was that just ignored or was that addressed?
That's my point. That's the 30 players on the field.
Yeah,
he called a foot foul because the lawyer, our lawyers didn't, notify the other side's lawyers at midnight on Monday night that they had filed this new lawsuit and that they were seeking a TRO. They didn't notify them at the 11th hour. But, let's ignore the whole thing that there's 30 players on the field and they're running roughshod over federal law.
So no official ruling or statement on that issue?
No, nothing.
Okay.
He just basically let his TRO dissolve last night after any chance of contesting it was passed, with the window of the overnight hours, with the work lights there to be able to just come in. So he basically put himself at the middle of the case and refused to even look at the environmental impact laws that the Army was breaking.
And I guess we'll find out soon whether the statue's still there, whether it's going to be wrecked and taken down today and then reassembled someplace else. Is there any other hope of stopping this if the damage hasn't already been done, or is it just it's done? There's nothing else to do.
I don't see how legally we can stop this now, because again, they've got the jump on us. He let the other team get the jump on the defenders. By the timing and the way he did it, he let the other team get the jump on us. So, Virginia has an agreement with the Army that it's called a programmatic agreement. They signed it Friday that allowed the Army to go forward with this.
That's a question. Why did anybody in Virginia under a Republican governor sign anything that would greenlight this? I would have raised hell and said, I'm not governor of Virginia, but I would have said, hell no, guys. If you work for me, I want you to do everything you can to slow this down and stop it under the law. Don't break the law. But we are not on board with this. We are not going to make this easy on these people. We're going to make it as hard as possible to destroy things in Virginia.
Well, here's the thing. This agreement has already been violated. And so the question is now what's Virginia going to do? Are they going to ignore the violation and just let the Army continue to get away with all this? Probably so, but we'll be contacting them and asking them.
All right. Well, I hope people will go to your website, defendarlington.org. I know the legal fees have stacked up on you. God knows that's all. This is why a lot of people can't fight. They can't afford to fight, unfortunately.
Anyone who listens to this and it just sounds like it's unfair, this is just not the way we do things in America, is that Lady Justice is supposed to be blind and the other team, shouldn't be advantaged by the judicial system. A rigged deck. Throw a few shekels our way because we're still fighting, and I have not told the family this morning yet. I'm waiting for a situation report. But imagine if you're Ezekiel's family to hear about all this machinery running over the top of his grave and this shell game. Shell game. It's so sad happening at this time of year.
Moses Ezekiel, the Jewish sculptor who asked to be buried at the foot of his greatest work, and they're running a crane over top. It's kind of sick.
Time in America.
Yeah. In a cemetery.
Time.
Lunel
Pray
Siegel,
for our country.
defendarlington.org. I appreciate you coming on. Keep fighting. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Look, I know some people in this audience, you're not big Confederacy fans. Maybe you're like me. I'm a Southerner. I'm proud to be a Southerner. I have no problem with being I'm tired of Yankees, forgive me for putting it that way, trying to denigrate me because of where I was born. I think there's a lot to be proud of about the South, to be quite frank. But I'm not willing. I don't want to refight the Civil War. So why are you forcing us to do that? Why? How arrogant must you be to want to refight the Civil War over statues in a cemetery with people who've been dead for over a century? Why would you do that? Democrats, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and the team, why would you do that? That seems really reckless and wrong to do that, especially with the other challenges we face when we need some national unity. 9:20. Back with more in a moment on News Radio WRVA.